Hello guys, my name is Salar and you're watching Smart Code. In this short tutorial, we are going to develop a real-time character counter in JavaScript. It's a useful and simple application that can easily be embedded on the site, and by writing this application, you will learn more about the JavaScript. The character count happens inside the text area, the white area that you see on the screen, using the key up event. The key up event is raised when the key is released, right? So you will learn how to use and apply key up event in a very meaningful way in this application, right? So we will first set up some HTML, then CSS, and finally we will code JavaScript. Okay, let's start the coding without any delay. So let's start the coding without any delay. Right, so in my VS Code editor, I have three files, one for HTML, one for CSS, and one for JavaScript. In both the files, the CSS and the JS are linked to the HTML. Let's now set up the HTML for this application. Start off with a div to the entire application. Let's call it app wrapper. And now I will code the application title. And right after the title, we will code a text area. Right, so now we have a text area which is a multi-line text box, and it is often used to allow user to enter a handsome amount of text. For example, the comments, reviews, or the feedbacks. The text area element has a lot of attributes that you can use to control the text. You can read more about this element on the MDN. If you scroll, so you will see a lot of attributes that can be useful in different scenarios. For example, autocomplete, autocorrect, autofocus, columns, disable forms, and so on, right? I will use some of them, for example, the rows and the columns. Rows and columns are used to define the size of the text area in terms of width and height, but the size can be changed with the help of CSS, and we will also change the size using the CSS later on. And in addition to columns and rows attributes, I will also use placeholder and no resize attributes, right? So the columns is set to 30 and the rows is set to 10, and we are not changing the values of the rows and the columns. However, in the CSS, we will define another width to the text area, right? So now I will put a placeholder, and in the last I will put a class to the text area, right? So for entering the text, we have a text area, and this is how it looks in the browser. And you see to the lower right corner we have a drag handle, and using this drag handle we can alter the size of the text area on the page. So the text area is actually resizable by default, and we can disable this resizing, and it can only be done via CSS. So when we write CSS, we will disable resizing on the text area, right? In our application, we need some more HTML. Let's take a div and call it footer. And here in the footer, we need a paragraph for showing the character count. And so finally, we need a button to reset the application. Right, so our HTML for this application is ready, and this is the output in the browser. Let's now put some CSS properties and style this application. So in a universal selector, we will do some reset work, such as reset padding and margin and set box sizing to the border box. Now target the body, apply flex, and put everything to the center of the page and give body a background color. And so now I will target the application wrapper and give it a width and some other properties. Let's now check the result in the browser. So here's the output in the browser, and it looks better now. Program title is okay. And so let's now fix the text area. So target the text area using its class. And here I will set a different width and disable the resizable feature. Right, so using the resize property, you can disable the resizing feature of the text area. And so now our text area looks good. It's now wider, right? And finally, we are going to style this application footer. Now target the footer and apply flex to it to arrange elements in a row. Now we need some more styles to the correct account and the button. So let's now style the correct account and the button. Right, so now the CSS part is also done, and here is the final version. Right, you can write more CSS and improve the look of this page. As you know, I don't put much effort on the application interface in my JavaScript tutorials. Let's now make this application work with the help of JavaScript. Now this application only needs few lines of code. The characters are counted as we release the keys, and to accomplish that we need to use the key up event, right? And the event is associated with the text area element. So we first need to get the text area element in the JavaScript and in our HTML. So you can see we are working with the classes only. So the method that we are going to use in the JavaScript to get the text area is the query selector method. You can also use get element by ID method if you want, but in this case you need to add an ID to the text area and to the button, right? So in the JavaScript, we will write, right? So now we have the text area element in the JavaScript. Let's now listen to the key event to it. So now we are listening key release actively on the text area. And whenever the key is released, this anonymous function is called. And before we write code in the function, I think we need this span element also in the JavaScript to show the correct account. So let's get the span element also in the JavaScript. So here in the function, whenever the key is released, we will assign a new value of the correct account to the span element. We have the span element and we want to modify the inner HTML. To the inner HTML of the span tag, we will put the correct account. Now for the correct account, we will use the string length property. The length property returns the number of characters in the string, and the text or the value in the text area element is just a string. So we will first get the value of the text area, but we are not interested in the value. The value is just the whole string. We want to know the correct account, so to the value, we will just call the length property. That's it. It was so simple. The application is ready. Let's now run the application in the browser. First need to refresh the page and write something. Right? So you see it's working and it's responding. So the main application functionality is program. Let's now program the clear option. And to the clear option, we will just put a page reload. The page reload is going to reset the application. So simple. So get the clear button first. And to the button, listen for the click event and call the anonymous function. And to the function, we will call window location reload. That's it. So now the application is fully programmed. Let's now give it a final run in the browser. Refresh the page and write something. So the real-time character count is working, as you can also see, and we can also check the clear option, and it also working, right? So that was the simple character counter application, and I hope you like this one. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, like the video, and leave the comments. I will see you around, and thanks for watching.